Good day and welcome to Night Owl. I hope everyone is ready for another dose of true crime. 'Cause here we go. Today we'll be talking about Lindsay Buziak, a young realtor that, in 2008, went off to show $1 million home to a couple of possible clients. A home she never walked out of. She was born in 1983, November 2nd, to Jeff and Evelyn. She also had a sibling, a sister named Sarah. In 2008, at the age of 24, she was a real estate agent in Victoria, British Columbia. At this time, she was still pretty new to the game, but it was a game she loved and was very good at. She had a boyfriend, one Jason Zalo, who came from a pretty rich real estate family. A family that owned a prominent real estate agency. Everyone considered her to be a warm and caring person. But then came the phone call she had gotten in January 2008. The call came from a woman with some sort of an accent. She claimed that she was looking for $1 million home for her and her husband. Now, this call did send up a few red flags and made Lindsay a bit nervous. Mostly because the call came in on Lindsay's personal phone, not a business phone. So she asked her how exactly did she get her number, and this woman claimed she got it from one of Lindsay's past clients. Lindsay then talked it over with her boyfriend and her father, telling them that she was getting some bad vibes from the whole thing. But her boyfriend told her to go for it. After all, $1 million home is nothing to sneeze at, and she'd make some major scratch from the commission. He even told her that, if it'll make her more comfortable with the whole thing, he'd be willing to sit outside the house in his car, just in case. To this, she agreed. She found a pretty nice house for the caller in Saanich, which was a suburb of Victoria. She called her new client back and set up a time for this possible client to view it. She was to meet her new clients at the house at 5:30 p.m. February 2nd. So anyway, the second rolls around, and we find Lindsay and Jason finishing up a pretty late lunch. They left the restaurant at about 4:24. Holy crap, I'd say that's a late lunch. Hell, I consider it a late lunch if I eat any later than 12:30. Anyway, they each took off in their own cars. She went home to change for the appointment. He had to go to a local garage to pick up a buddy of his. Unfortunately, he was running a bit late. In fact, the CCTV footage from the garage shows him leaving at around 5:30. He, of course, sent her a text message to tell her that he'll be there, but he'll be late. The house was at 1702 De Souza Place. It was one of 4 houses on this little cul-de-sac. 1702 sat on the corner of De Souza Place and Torquay Drive. Now, when the caller had first agreed to the time and place to meet, she said she'd be there alone, but she showed up at 5:30 with some dude. A couple of witnesses saw these two strolling up the cul-de-sac on foot. They said the dude was a white guy, about 6 feet tall, dark hair, and she was a blonde, somewhere in between 35 and 45 years of age. She was wearing a dress that had a pattern that sort of stood out. Here is a composite sketch of the woman and the kind of dress she wore. These witnesses said that Lindsay greeted them with a handshake before the 3 of them disappeared into the house. But the witnesses felt that she did not know this couple. At about 5:40 is when Jason and his buddy showed up. Jason could have sworn he saw someone through the front door window as they drove to the house. He parked in front of the house for around 10 minutes. But he started feeling like he was going to come off as a controlling boyfriend, so he decided to go park on a nearby street. And there he and his buddy sat for about 10 minutes. By this time, Jason started to get a bit nervous, so he texted Lindsay to make sure she was okay. That text message was never opened. It's at this point, Jason started to get pretty worried, so they returned to the house. They discovered the front door was locked. So he, of course, knocked. Nothing. Knocked again. Nothing. Not only did no one come to the door, but he didn't even detect anyone moving in the house. But when he looked through the window in the door, he was able to see Lindsay's shoes. Jason knew something was really wrong at 1702 De Souza Place, so he called 911. While Jason was doing that, his buddy went to the back of the house where he discovered a space between the fence boards that would allow him access to the backyard. Once in the yard, he noticed the patio door was open, so he called out to Jason. Jason then informed the operator that he and his buddy had a way into the house. At that point, he ended the call. His friend entered the house and unlocked the front door. Not seeing anything on the main level as his friend crossed en route to the front door, they took off upstairs. There, in the master bedroom, laid Lindsay Buziak, her light apparently extinguished by the tip of a knife. A heartbroken Jason called 911 back, and emergency services was dispatched. When they arrived, the paramedics confirmed what Jason already knew. Lindsay Buziak was no longer alive. They had discovered that she had multiple wounds, none of which were defensive, which means she didn't even see it coming. And seeing how none of her things was gone, and there didn't seem to be any signs of SA, it seemed that that couple set up the meeting for one and only one reason alone: to unalive her. Well, needless to say, this case is a pretty tough nut to crack. I mean, there was no physical evidence left behind. No fingerprints. No DNA. Nothing. Nada. Zip. Even the cell phone used hadn't really bore any fruit. It was purchased a few months before and had never been used until the first time that woman called Lindsay. It was registered to some dude named Paulo Rodriguez, which the cops figure was a fake name. The address used was real enough, though. It was a Vancouver-based business, but the police don't think the business was involved, and that the suspects just picked it off the top of their heads. And after they did, what they did to Lindsay, the phone was never used again. The cops, however, were able to use cell towers to ping the phone. They were able to determine that they took a ferry from Vancouver to Victoria the day before. They do believe that the deed was planned out, and planned out well. In fact, they are fairly certain that whoever did this has done it before. The police believe that they were planning on making their escape through the front door, but had to go with Plan B when Jason and his friend first pulled up. So they fled the same way that Jason's buddy got into the house. Through the back patio door and backyard fence which led to Torquay Drive, where they probably had a car waiting. Of course, the first ones they took into custody were Jason and his colleague. I mean, they were the ones who found the body, and Jason definitely had a connection to the victim. So it did make sense to take them in first. But they were released soon after without being charged, seeing how their alibi checked out. Remember what I said earlier about the garage? Well, not only were they caught on camera, but that camera had a time stamp. So, yeah, they couldn't possibly have committed the crime. And the cops have said that Jason has always cooperated with them, being willing to talk to them many times over the years. The dude even passed a polygraph test with flying colors. Of course, he was not the only one in his family that was investigated. His mom, Shirley, had a connection with the cul-de-sac. Well, sorta anyway. You see, she had a friend that was responsible for the construction of the cul-de-sac. In fact, it even got its name from him, a guy named Joe D'Souza. He was actually at the cul-de-sac about an hour before the crime had been committed, watching over the construction that was still going on in the cul-de-sac. But the cops have said that neither Jason or his family were suspects at all. Of course, over the years a few different theories have developed, some more believable than others, such as this one. It seems in December 2007, Lindsay tried contacting a friend of an old boyfriend of hers when she took a trip to Calgary. Well, this friend of her ex ended up being busted on January 22, 2008, in the biggest drug bust in Alberta's history. So, one thought the cops had was that maybe the drug cartel ordered a hit, thinking that Lindsay could have been a snitch and ratted them out to the cops. But the cops discounted this theory. And why? Well, they said that they didn't think that theory held any water because she wasn't a police informant, and she had no involvement in the drug trade. They also said the hit really didn't match a cartel hit, that it wasn't aligned with a cartel's method of pulling off a hit. Not to mention, according to the police, it was done by amateurs. Now wait one damn minute. Earlier y'all said that the crime was well planned out and organized, and that what they did to Lindsay was not their first time. Now you say they were amateurs. Well, sorry, but I really have to disagree. I mean, think about it. What does an amateur do better than anyone else? They screw up. They leave things behind. They overlook things. But the suspects in this crime did none of that. The drug cartel angle does seem, to me anyway, to cross a lot of the T's. In fact, Lindsay didn't actually need to rat out the cartel. They just have to think she did to make her a target. After all, the police did say that whoever did it must have had some kind of background knowledge about Lindsay. I mean, the woman that called her, for example, called her on her own personal cell phone and not a business one. But according to a couple of witnesses, when the couple arrived, it didn't appear that Lindsay knew them. Now, am I saying that is definitely what happened? No, of course not. It's just a theory that, to me anyway, makes perfect sense. I mean, I could be way off base. Of course, that's not the only theory. Some say that it could have been a crime of passion. But I kind of have my doubts about that one too. And here's why. For one, She seemed to not know her attackers. Normally, when it comes to crimes of passion, it's committed by someone that knows the victim. And two, there was two of them. I mean, normally, a crime of passion is a one-on-one sort of thing and not a team sport. Now, has there been any new developments since then? Well, no, not really. I mean, in 2017, someone left a post on a message board on a website that Lindsay's father, Jeff, runs. It read, and I quote, "I killed Lindsay, and stupid cops will never prove it." Now, was that actually posted by one of the suspects? I kinda doubt it. It's more possible that it was just posted by some D-bag that thought it would be funny. I mean, most of us have heard of crap like that happening before. And there was the Freedom of Information request that the Capital Daily newspaper made to the police involving this case in 2020. In it, it revealed that there was actually two phones, not just one. The one phone was used to call Lindsay, while the other was used to check the voicemail of the other. And it also showed some odd web searches about Lindsay, inspiring the police to check out if any of her Facebook friends have violent backgrounds. But at the time of this video, no results of that search were ever made public. And in 2021, the police in Saanich announced that they were forming a new task force to investigate this crime. They are hoping to use new technologies to drum up some new leads. Jeff, Lindsay's father, leads a memorial walk every February for his daughter in hopes of keeping both her memory and case alive in people's minds and hearts. Which is the same reason I made this video. I thought it might help to keep her memory fresh in everyone's mind, and I also have hopes that, if someone sees it, well, it might just jog their memory. And if it does and you remember anything, or have any information that may help, then please contact the Saanich Police Department at 250-475-4356 or toll free at 1-888-980-1919. We at Night Owl would like to send out our condolences to the Buziak family. We hope that one day you'll receive all the answers you need, and that one day there will be justice for Lindsay. Thank you for stopping by. If you liked this video, then please hit like and subscribe, and share it. It'll really help our channel out. And if you have any cases you'd like me to cover, then by all means, leave me a post in the comments. But remember, be you good or be you wicked, everyone deserves justice. Good night.